Alright. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Less Known Classic. This episode 2615. I think it's 15, correct? It is 2621 and Doubleshot 2515. Now, two sci-fi related traits. First up is something I picked up at Comic-Con. Both of these two are. We have the Q conflict. I thought this was basically the Kelvin element. Nope. This is a completely different Q conflict. So, this is the four popular series. The original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager doing a four-way crossover. And it's only this miniseries. Who writes this? The Tiptons, of course, because they do all the crossovers. I think this is the most recent one they did after doing the Mirrorverse stuff, which all that stuff was really good, by the way. So, it's only about, I think it's like 6 issues, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 6 issues. Of course, written by David and Scott Tipton, artwork by Dave Messina, and Salvia Carrillo on the artwork for issue 4. So, basically what happens here is that we have the crew of the Enterprise E. Now, Riker is here, and Data's alive, and Worf is here too. So, my guess is this is presumably just before the events of Nemesis. I'd say this is probably between Insurrection and Nemesis, because in Insurrection, Worf is here on a visit during the events of basically during the war. There's no mention exactly where this takes place. It's probably during the movies, maybe based on the uniforms that they wear here. Now, it can't be it could be after First Contact. I'd say it could be I'd say not immediately afterwards per se, but given the fact Worf is here, he's basically I'm guessing this is probably for the events of Nemesis. I think this is not like for this. Now, basically, they're accounting a bunch of supernovas, and also there's one other thing here. They do bring up in here that Riker and Troy are not engaged at this point in time, because remember in the books, they got engaged about almost a year before the events of Nemesis, so this is well before they got engaged. But unknown if those books are canon because of, well, different levels of canon, because Star Trek at the time doesn't keep its continuity straight. So, they're basically witnessing 8 supernovas in 8 days. And get this has happened in Star Trek 4. We have all these suns going nova in a span of just a few days. This actually happened during the second time Q period on Voyager. Not referenced here per se, but yeah, so then of course basically Picard's like, he's like, only one person can do this nonsense. Q, get your butt in here. Yes, it's Q. He's responsible for it. He's like, and it posts like a contest to stop. And they're like, oh yeah, let's do a contest. So the Enterprise E is brought to this planet, Cestus 3. And they're brought there with the crew of the original Enterprise, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager. Deep Space Nine, from their perspective, they actually do kind of hint exactly when it takes place from their perspective, because they're they say they're in station for 3 years. So, given the fact Cisco is bald here, this is between the events, the seasons of seasons 3 and 4, because I remember at the end of season 3, Cisco still had hair. At the start of season 4, he had no hair. So I'd say from his perspective, the crew of this is set before the events of Deep Space Nine Season 3. Voyager, given the fact 7's here, it could be at any point during the events of Seasons 4, 5, or 6. It could be any of these seasons. Yep. So they're on the planet, of course, they all kind of meet for the first... Of course, Picard lays down rules. No killing, no interfering timeline, and no violent destruction. Q's like, okay. Yeah, and by the way, when the thing is wrapped up, all the rest of the crews get all the memories, get all the events gets erased, so it's not really mentioned. And the reason? Preserve a timeline, of course. Yep, that's the reason for it. So, we basically have a competition going on here. So, we have 4 judges. We have 4 people who are representing these teams. We have Q, of course, and 3 people from the original series. And this might surprise you of like, who, is it Flint? Nope. It is. So, yeah, I mentioned all this stuff, like this gorgeous artwork. With this, I gotta show this artwork of the Enterprise E. It's so good. Yeah, so Q posed the contest, and then basically like 2 years earlier, 8 years earlier, 110 years earlier, so they have all meet. The company basically first is the next generation meeting the D Space Nine crew. Like, good to see you. Hello, it's a time travel, and of course, like, and then here comes Voyager, and then the original series crew. Yep. So here are your judges, and this will surprise you. Medron from the original series episode The Arena. The same episode debuted the freaking Gorn. Telos, the Squire Gathos, and the Chief Elder of the Organians. You know, the people responsible for the Organian Peace Treaty. I'm like, this is kind of interesting. So basically, yeah, it just like, okay, let's pick basically Q. A guy who's met all the other series, Q has never met, of course, the other, basically the original series crew. And by the way, Quark is here too. It's like, okay, so on behalf of Organians, it's like, everyone choose your Born. On behalf of Organians, choose Henry Kim. Trelane, it leaves you with, oh, fine, I'll take a little troll. He has to go Quark or troll. So here are the teams. Fighting for Trelane, it's Kirk, McCoy, Worf, Jadzia, Tuvok, Miles O'Brien, and Quark. For Q, obviously, it is Picard, so obvious, Spock, Dr. Crusher, 7 of 9, Odo, LaForge, and Uhura. Fighting for the Organians. And his lieutenants are, well, people are, here's what he picked. For the Organians. For Cisco. Chakotay, Data, Sulu, Dr. Bashir, Counselor Troy, and Harry Kim. For the Metrons, it's Janeway, Riker, who she's met before, thanks to Q's debut, Death Wish, Kira, Scotty, Tom Paris, Chekhov, and B'Elanna. You're thinking, wow, this is a very interesting. This is basically an all-star. You probably think of all the people. So, I'd say probably if you look at this, like in the case of Kirk and Worf, they probably feel a little uncomfortable with each other, given the fact Worf does know Kirk's reputation with the Klingons. Worf has basically uncomfortable also not with Kirk, but also with Jadzia, due to the fact that from his point in timeline, Jadzia has been dead for years. He has no problem with working with Miles at all because he's known him for a long time. Tuvok he's never working for. And Quark he's got history with. For Picard, well, he does know Spock. He's known for a long time. Beverly, of course. 7, I believe this is the first of these two work together. Odo, this is interesting. Odo has never really interacted with anybody outside of the Deep Space Nine very much. LaForge is probably good. He's probably excited to work with the Uhura, but Cisco, it's like, okay, so we have Cisco, Chakotay, Data. Now, I get Dr. Bashir, but Counselor Troy seems like an odd choice to basically with Cisco, but okay. Harry Kim. For Janeway, it's like interesting. Hers is like two first officers, a chief engineer, her pilot, the navigator, and her own chief engineer. It's like she gets two chief engineers and two first officers. While in the case of Cisco, he gets one first officer, a second officer, a helmsman, the chief medical officer. Like, here's one person missing from this lineup for Voyager. You know, it's like, for Voyager, like, who is missing here? The Doctor. Yeah, he's not here. Yeah, for some reason he's not in the story. This could be before he got mobile emitters, so that's probably the reason why. So yeah, the plan is to do some exploring, catch this stuff. So then we have, like, on the Enterprise, we have Quark Communications. We have Worf driving the ship, which he has done before, so there's good continuity with that. And I think it's basically Tuvok at what normally be Chekhov Station, and I think it's Kim at what would be Scotty Station on the Enterprise E. Beverly is assuming position probably Troy would be in. Odo is at Worf's, which that's a bit obvious because, well, he probably does know how to fire weapons. In the case of Spock, quite natural for him to be at the first officer station. Uhura is basically, looks like she's basically like in navigation, which she probably does know that. Seven, from her perspective, she does know how to pilot a spaceship, so she's probably driven a space shuttle, so nothing really wrong there. So for the Defiant, the helm, which normally in the main show is normally Judd Dex, it's Sulu. Makes sense. No problem there. Data is at, I think, at a station normally Troy was sitting at. Not Troy, here we have, over here we have, I think it's Dr. Bashir there. We have Troy on this side. The other side is basically Data and Chakotay. And on Voyager, Tom is in his usual spot, so there's no really change there. Riker is sitting in, Chakotay's chair. The first officer, basically for given the uniform, who's sitting at Spock Station, my guess is probably, it's not B'Elanna. B'Elanna's over in the corner. The one with the white, yellow shirt, I'm not sure. It could be Chekhov. I'm not sure. But, so, they go off and basically go their merry way. Like, what paper is the point? And the thing is, Janeway has never, now here's the thing. Here's something you might find cool about this. When Tuvok saw Sulu, he says, Captain Sulu. I'm glad the fact he didn't hear that because he'd be like, Captain Sulu. Yeah, because here's the thing. Tuvok was an officer on the Excelsior. Yes. So, I find it interesting. So, I think in the case of Chekhov, I think he's taking a station normally B'Elanna has. So, it's nice the fact you have Tom Paris to be the helm. So, we have Kira in the place where 7-9 would be, and Chekhov is basically like in a different location it would be. Then we have Tuvok on the Enterprise. Oh yeah, by the way, the Organian stuff is here. Yes, that was on an episode featured the Romulans. Yes, and that episode is heavily referenced here. Yes, basically Worf has been there. So basically then we have Kirk meeting Worf. It's like, Commander, what's your name? I am Lieutenant Commander Worf, son of Moog. You look uncomfortable, Mr. Worf, even more than the rest of us in this crazy situation. Yes, sir, it's not attention front, but the ship, uniforms, it all makes us uneasy. Our worlds were enemies in your time, and I'm not sure what to expect. The very fact you're wearing the uniform means whatever differences our people may have been settled, and that's good as me. So relax, that's the word. I get it. Okay, that is good writing. Like I just mentioned, basically, of course he'd be uncomfortable with him. Because the Klingons basically a history report. Because it's basically the Klingons don't like basically that ship. So, So basically he points to Miles O'Brien. So, obviously they fly down the Galileo. The most popular ship of the use in the frickin' show. So on their way team, on their ship, basically it's just Kirk, Tuvok, Miles, and Worf. It's a good thing these two basically are longtime friends. And on the Enterprise E runabout, well, actually, yeah, it's Enterprise East, where it's, well, Spock, Odo, I'm thinking that's, let's see, I'm not sure, I couldn't tell who it is, who basically based on that picture. It, on Cisco's is Data. My guess is probably, I'm guessing Chakotay and Sulu. And on, well, Janeway's, it's Kira, Riker, and I think it's Kira, and of course, Chekhov. Yeah. So it takes him into the shuttle. Of course, they disable it. It's all about basically getting, it's all a race to get this place and stuff like this. Yeah, and then of course we see Ward put on this ridiculous uniform. It's like, okay, I have to wear this thing because the ship wore these field uniforms. And I'm glad the fact Worf knows he needs to keep the timeline. He knows. I'm glad the fact Tipton do not write Worf to be stupid, because he had briefly said for a report, he pulls right back because, of course he would. Worf probably did it because he needs to keep Kirk alive, because if he dies now, it will ruin the timeline. Which, yeah. Yeah, and of course, basically, like, Kira gets pulled in, but saved by Riker, who she also got kissed by his brother. And Riker's like, oh, this place is described. Of course, the whole thing is about getting their technology. Y'all got all the gateway stuff, so, and they go, oh, round one goes to Janeway's crew. Yeah, and of course, like, oh, spoiler alert, by having Q hug Janeway. Yes, the same woman he tried to basically get her to sleep with him. Yeah, she's like, nope, not interested. So, next plan. So, what is the very next plan? So, it's like, okay, so they kind of decide basically like, Trelane. Yeah, I'm glad the fact that they wrote it where Kirk does remember Trelane. Trelane, look at me. You know me. What is this game about? Why are you doing this? Ah, my good captain, there's a good reason for all this. Q has agreed to spare me from further hostilities if it is being determined. I call it motivated self-interest if you're going to give the tournament a test. This seems like typical Q behavior. Indeed. Yeah. And of course you have Jemmy, the Metrons, which, here's the thing. The guy here is the same one from the episode, and the only guy he met was Kirk. Him meeting with Janeway was interesting. Yeah. And then, of course, you have Data. Actually, first you have Cisco talking to the Chief Graves, and we have Data talking to, like, this is interesting. So, no interest in Q, because no one will. So, like, oh yeah, duel, and the captain's like, nope. So, the plan is capture flag. Okay. So you have Kirk and you have Janeway, and it was probably just Defiant and probably just Enterprise. And like, okay, time to introduce a unexpected player into play. How about the freaking Planet Killer? Like, oh crap. Oh no. Fascinating. Can't be. And Janeway's like, What is that thing? And Chekhov, it's a Planet Killer. Our crew wants to count it in the episode Doomsday Machine back from season 2. Like, wow. So awesome the fact that we have to see this thing here. And it gets defeated. Okay, it's defeated by the 4th ship, which is awesome. And of course, basically, guidance isn't here in this book too. And they go to Deep Space Nine, where they're all standing outside the station on top, which for those four, for Q, it's not much of an issue. But in the case of the other captains, this is impossible. They're in freaking space. They have no oxygen. Well, my guess is Q is probably providing oxygen. That's my guess. So, yeah, try to damage a freaking wormhole and try to just take off the profits. Yeah, and is this interesting, though, that Dak does not mention McCoy? Hey, this is not the first time we met. I actually met you in medical school, dude. And it's kind of weird the way artist draws Jadzia, where she looks close over her lips. She looks a bit older than she's supposed to be, because Jadzia on the show was in her 30s when she was in the show. Here she looks like she's 40. And of course, Kirk trying to hit on her. Because of course Kirk would do that. It's Kirk. He hits all the ladies. Well, except for her. He doesn't hit on her. And like, oh, then he sees like this whole thing with the prophets, where Kirk gets involved, and he ends up basically winning this little conflict. And then for some reason, the whole thing is messed up. And then the pretty Q and Amanda Rogers shows up. You're like, what? Okay. Amanda Rogers, she showed up in the episode of Next Generation, which was the last time Q was seen by the rest of the crew. The pretty Q is from Q Who. Actually, no, it was Q Less. It was the episode Q lost his powers. Yeah, so Q gets chastised for taking out the prophets. Like, oh yeah, so the final challenge is to kidnap a Borg Queen. And Kirk has no idea what the heck that is. Makes sense, given the fact he never counts them. And of course, Picard, Janeway, and Sisko are not stupid. Like, yeah, they realize, though, capturing a Borg Queen is a bad idea. Because Janeway's got history with the Borg Queen, Picard has his own history, and Sisko hates the Borg for killing his wife. Though he has less history with the Borg Queen, he just says he hates the Borg. And of course, the Iconians, and of course, they just manage to find this thing, of course, they break in. And like, oh, yes, 7, oh, you got it. And of course, the artists have to basically do a close-up of her rear end. Because Jerry Ryan's hot. Whatever. So, yeah, they take it, and then of course, like, oh, gotta put her in Trelane's collection. Like, Amanda, good to see you again. Oh, yeah, and also, Wesley and the Traveler are here. Yep. And of course, Wesley is embraced by his mom. Of course she is. So he's like, hi, Mom. I can't believe you're here. So everybody gets invited. So they take on these creatures because we got to end in a big, spectacular fashion. It's interesting seeing Quark using a phase rifle. It's so awesome. And yeah, basically Trelane riding a horse because, of course, he would command the victory. And, of course, we bring in the freaking aliens from Q from that second episode. And then we have those strange apes from Let the Air Last Battlefield, and bringing the frickin' Breen from Deep Space, and even the rock creatures. Okay, the rock creatures. Okay. Where the heck are these things from? It's not the Excaliburs. No, it's not them. This is probably not to the original idea for Final Frontier. So, we have first creatures from Next Generation, and then from the original series, then from the movies, and then frickin' Breen. Yeah, and of course, then we have it where, get this, Bashir shoots Q in the Gray's cheek. And like, yep, they sign a peace treaty, Q puts on a suit, over, done, and everybody returned to power, place, and time. Yep. So, who knows, see it again, but this was an absolute fun series. My gosh, so fun. 10 out of 10. Excellent job. 24 minutes talking about one book, because the book is awesome, that's why. Next thing we have is The Agents of Atlas. War of the Realms, Agents of Atlas by Greg Pak. the first of a 4-set of series. New Age of Atlas, sung by John Wu, comprised of Shang-Chi, Amadeus Cho, Silk. Let's see, who else they got? They also got Arrow, Swordmaster before it became Iron Fist, Luna Snow, Crescent, Io, and of course, basically Miss Marvel, the current one. Mostly put, they're assembled to basically just go on an adventure together during the events of War Realm. That's most what this book is. But this book is just, it's pretty good. It's only surprisingly 4 issues. This leads into another Age of Atlas series, and that leads into Atlantis Attacks. A series was collected part King of Black, even though they knew King of Black, and finally concluded in basically the name of a miniseries by Kurt Busiek. But this book is awesome. Give it 10 out of 10. Okay, so that's it, particular view. Next up, I'm definitely going to do Case Closed. Okay, next video. Bye.